Imagine you're in a cafe. You notice someone leaning away from their partner, arms crossed, and feet pointing toward the door. You think, they're clearly uncomfortable, maybe even ready to leave. But what if I told you, in some cultures, this might mean something completely different? In this video, we're uncovering the secrets of nonverbal communication from How to Speed Read People by Patrick King. But with a twist. Not only will we decode these subtle signals, but we'll also explore how they change across cultures, so you never misread someone again. Scenario 1. Distance and personal space. You're at a party, talking to someone who keeps leaning back and maintaining a wide physical distance. Naturally, you assume they're uninterested, right? Western interpretation. In many Western cultures, maintaining close proximity suggests trust and engagement, while creating distance signals discomfort or disinterest. Cultural counterpoint. In Japan, this distance is a sign of respect. Leaning in too close might make someone feel crowded or even offended. So, before you jump to conclusions about someone's interest, ask yourself, are you reading their signals or yours? Scenario 2. Eye contact. Picture this. You're in a job interview, and the interviewer is avoiding eye contact. You might think, they don't like me. Western interpretation. In the US and many European countries, direct eye contact shows confidence and attentiveness. Avoiding it might suggest nervousness or dishonesty. Cultural counterpoint. In parts of Asia and the Middle East, avoiding direct eye contact is a sign of respect, especially when speaking to someone of higher authority. Here's a tip. Before an international job interview or meeting, research the cultural norms around eye contact. Confidence looks different in every culture. Scenario 3. Open versus closed posture. At a family dinner, your cousin sits with their arms crossed and legs tightly tucked in. You think they're annoyed or defensive. Western interpretation. Closed posture, like crossed arms, often signals defensiveness or discomfort. Cultural counterpoint. In Russia and parts of Eastern Europe, crossing arms can simply be a relaxed, natural pose, especially in colder climates where people try to keep warm. Next time you see someone with crossed arms, don't immediately assume they're defensive. Context and culture are everything. Scenario 4. Smiles and facial expressions. You're negotiating a deal, and the other person keeps smiling. You think, great, they're happy and agreeable. Western interpretation. A smile typically conveys friendliness, agreement, or satisfaction. Cultural counterpoint. In Japan, a smile doesn't always mean happiness. It can mask discomfort or disagreement. In fact, someone might smile politely while rejecting your offer internally. Want to avoid misreading a situation? Don't rely solely on smiles. Look at the full picture, their posture, tone of voice, and eye contact. Scenario 5. Feet position. Imagine you're chatting with a colleague, and their feet are pointing away from you. You think, they're not interested. Western interpretation. Feet pointed away often suggest disengagement or a desire to leave the conversation. Cultural counterpoint. In some Middle Eastern cultures, showing the soles of your feet is considered disrespectful, so people may position their feet deliberately to avoid this, even if they're fully engaged in the conversation. Here's the challenge. Look for consistent patterns. One signal, like foot position, might mislead you if you don't consider the bigger picture. Scenario 6. Fidgeting and nervous habits. You're giving a presentation, and someone in the audience keeps tapping their pen and shifting in their chair. You assume they're bored. Western interpretation. Fidgeting is often seen as a sign of impatience, restlessness, or boredom. Cultural counterpoint. In some African cultures, movement during a conversation, such as shifting weight or tapping, can signify active listening and engagement. Want to gauge their interest? Pair their fidgeting with other cues, like eye contact or head nodding. Sometimes, movement is a sign they're processing what you're saying. Scenario 7. Silence and pausing. You're negotiating a salary raise, and your boss remains silent for several seconds after you make your case. You start panicking. Does this mean rejection? Western interpretation. Silence is often uncomfortable and might indicate hesitation or disagreement. Cultural counterpoint. In Scandinavian cultures, silence is valued as a thoughtful pause, showing respect for what you've said. Conversely, in Mediterranean cultures, silence might feel unnatural, with lively interruptions being a sign of engagement. Silence isn't always bad. Use it as an opportunity to observe other cues, like facial expressions or posture. Scenario 8. Gestures and hand movements. You're in a meeting, and a colleague makes a thumbs-up gesture. You interpret it as approval. Western interpretation. The thumbs up is a universal sign of agreement or positivity. Cultural counterpoint. In parts of the Middle East and West Africa, this gesture can be offensive, similar to a rude hand gesture in Western cultures. Remember, what's positive in one culture can be offensive in another. Always be mindful of where you are and who you're with. Scenario 9. Head movements. You're speaking to someone who nods repeatedly. You think, they're agreeing with me. Western interpretation. Nodding often signifies agreement or understanding. Cultural counterpoint. In Bulgaria and parts of India, nodding can mean no, while shaking the head might mean yes. Never rely solely on head movements to confirm someone's response. Clarify with words when in doubt. Conclusion. Mastering the art across cultures. Nonverbal communication is a powerful tool, but it's not universal. Every culture adds its own spin to gestures, expressions, and signals. To truly master the art of reading people, you need two skills: observation and cultural awareness. So next time you're in a conversation, don't just listen, observe. And before you assume, consider the cultural lens. The world is full of unspoken stories waiting to be decoded.